Hello, welcome to another one of my Leetcode videos. In this one, we'll do Leetcode 2526, which is finding the consecutive integers from a data stream. So basically, we have to implement this data structure class, which represents like a data stream. So every time a number can be added to the data stream, and what we have to do is when the data stream is initialized, we're given a certain value and a certain number of k. And whenever we add a number, if we have seen this value k times in the most recent part of the data stream, we return true, otherwise we return false. So as an example, this data stream is initialized with a value of 4 and a k of 3. So first they insert 4. So the question is, have we seen 4 3 times? No, we haven't. So false. Then the next one is inserted. Again, the question is, have we seen 4 3 times? The answer is false. No, the last 3 elements are not 4. Then finally we come here. Again, the question is, have we seen 4 3 times? The answer is true, because the last 3 elements are 4. And when we insert 3, again we ask our question, have we seen the element 4 at least 3 times in the most recent one? And the answer is no, we haven't, because the last element is 3. So we return false. So that's basically the question. Now, what will be our approach to solve this problem? So basically, if you imagine a data stream, right? So we have here like, let's say 4, 4, 3, 2, 4, 4, 4. To answer this question, have we seen value k times in the most recent one? So we only care about the most recent numbers, right? We don't really care about the past number. So to answer this question, we need 2 primitives, right? One is, what is the last element that we've seen? And the second is, how many times have we seen that last element consecutively, right? So if we have these 2 primitives, we can answer this question. So let's try to compute this for this example. So here the last element will be 4. The last element will just basically be equal to the data stream at each point, right? So we just have to, for the example's sake, say how many times. So in this case, last element 4, we've seen it once. In this case, last element 4, we've seen it twice. So I've gone ahead and just completed the remaining ones, right? So last element and how many times we've seen it. So at this point, you see it's 1, 2, 3. So if we have these 2 numbers, if we keep track of these 2 numbers every time we insert something in the stream, we can just say, okay, is the last element equal to the value, and is the number of times greater than equal to k? So then with that we can answer our question and return the correct value here in the boolean. So these 2 is all we need to keep track of to be able to answer this question. So the time complexity here for consec will be O1, and the space complexity will also be O1. So let's go ahead and write the code for this approach. So in the constructor, all we have to do is capture value and k, because these are the ones we'll compare against. So I've gone ahead and just captured value and k into 2 private final class variables. Now, as you remember from the earlier description, what we need to keep track of is the last element and how many times we've seen the last element. So let me just go ahead and create those 2 variables. So here we have our 2 variables, the last element and the number of times seen. And whenever we hit this, let's compute those values. So the first thing we'll do is compute our time seen, right? So if the last element is equal to our num, which is the new element, then we increment times seen by 1, right? Because we've seen it again. Otherwise, we set times seen to 1, because that means this is a new element. Now that we have updated our time seen, let's update our last element. So our last element will be equal to num, because that's the num coming in. And now what we need to do is we need to just check these 2 to see whether we should return true or false. So we return true if our last element is equal to value, right? Because that's the value we want to know. And if the number of times we've seen that element is greater than or equal to k, because that's the condition we want, and we just simply return this. So that should do it. Very simple. Let's run this code and see how this does. Cool, accepted. Let's submit. Perfect. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.